Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Soccer Show. My name is Jack Burkart. You can find me on Twitter at Jack Burkart, joined as usual by Ryan Belongia. We are here to discuss Saturday, November 9th, DraftKings 4-game classic slate. Ryan, it's going to be a fun one because there's simply no good teams on this slate. No disrespect to teams like Bournemouth or whatever, but we don't have any of like the traditional quote unquote top 6 team. Ryan, we don't even have the third table team in the league, Nottingham Forest. So we get to do one of these classic dumpster diving slates, the stuff that we always like to say Jordan Cooper likes a lot, although he unfortunately cannot join us for this one. But Ryan, just digging in, looking at the cheat sheet and seeing what teams we have Wolves as the biggest favorite against Southampton. Ryan, I wrote in my column, I don't think we'll see Wolves as the biggest favorite on any slate, maybe perhaps a showdown slate for the rest of the season, but they are about 50% implied win probability, which is not that huge of a favorite, Ryan. 30% clean sheet odds and 1.8 implied goal total is the biggest of the slate. The other team that is a slight favorite is West Ham at home against Everton, 44% win odds. And then you have 2 toss-up matchups. Brentford have they're slight favorites against Bournemouth, probably just home field advantage stuff. And then Fulham are slight road favorites against Crystal Palace. Ryan, it's funny, we have players that are not that good, priced like Erling Haaland, priced like Phil Foden. I always think these slates are fun, though. So what are your thoughts kind of diving in and looking at this one?
Yeah, I think it's a great slate. Love these slates where you don't have to worry about City or even Arsenal these days or Liverpool. Don't have a team with a total of above 1.8. You're not going to be surprised if any of these 4 teams win. Like you said, Wolves are the biggest favorite or whatever. Do they have a win this season? I feel like Wolves are winless. Maybe they have 1 win. Anyways, yeah, it's a great slate. Cunha priced like Erling Haaland and Bowen at 10K as well, with how bad West Ham have been. But it's good spots on paper for both Wolves and West Ham. So it makes sense, when you don't have the big teams on the slate either. Decision is going to be whether or not you play both of them. You can play both of them. I think we're going to get some value on Palace and Everton if you want to take it. Palace are kind of down to bare bones for this spot against Fulham. May actually be a better spot for Fulham with the team that Palace is going to run out there. But they have a good manager, so you wouldn't be surprised to see them, beat Fulham in this spot either. But yeah, I think Fulham could be sneaky. And then the last game, yeah, Brentford, Bournemouth, really interesting game for tournaments. I think the players on both sides are going to go under-owned. Yeah, it's a great slate, Jack. I'm always excited. And we have a $5 King of the Pitch contest too. So, great for this slate. The disrespect for Palace is amazing. I see Bear says in the chat. I just said I think they could win. They have a good manager. I know others are disrespecting Palace, but I think Fulham are pretty good actually. And if you just look at the lineups that these 2 teams are going to put out there, Palace are missing Eze, which is huge, obviously. Wharton might be their second best player. Nketiah is their best attacker. So it's a tough spot for Palace. But yeah, I think the manager's good and the prices on the relevant players are cheap. So you can take some chances there. What do you think, Jack?
I'm willing to take chances on Crystal Palace. It's just, the fact is they're just starting a lot of backup players and that just really hurts your team quality in Premier League play. I don't really dislike them that much on paper, but you have some cheap opportunities if Palace can string together good performance. We have 5,100 Daichi Kamada. Ryan, at least half the set pieces. Who else is going to take set pieces on this side? We might be looking at Monopolist. That's one thing I was kind of wondering what you might think, the footedness god in the building. Ismail Assar is only 5K as a forward, and he racked up an 11-point floor. And the Palace players are more likely to go 90 minutes, Ryan, especially with all these injuries. You could look at this bench. It could be a bunch of youth team guys, and you can sign me up for, a 90 minutes of Kamada or Sar in a GPP. Not a huge thing for Sar, but a small position, especially in this 21 entry $5 King of the Pitch. One of my favorite contests, Ryan. I won my first King of the Pitch ticket, dumping 5 into that and sweating it on the Long Island Railroad. So I will forever light money on fire into that contest just for the nostalgia. All right, Ozzy says West Ham smash spot. I'm a Tottenham fan. I hate West Ham. They've been terrible. I'm not convinced, but
is that a real thing? West Ham smash spot is like an oxymoron. I mean, what are we even talking about here? Yeah, though, home against Everton, you'd think so, but I don't know.
I feel like Ozzy's been trolling us lately.
Maybe he has.
Trying to get under our skin a little bit. I mean, on paper it is. And Ozzy, I don't think people like this West Ham team. So there's going to be options in tournaments. Antonio is always an option in tournaments. Lucas Paqueta in a more forward role, only 4,600. Now he's gunning for yellow cards lately, but a player in principle who we're fine taking chances on, especially because he's quite talented. But Ryan, look at this team: like 3 center backs, Guido Rodriguez and Thomas Suchek, Emerson and Wan-Bissaka. I mean, not really like the most offensive fullbacks. It just kind of seems like we shouldn't project a really good game environment for West Ham. But what was Adam saying in DM? Like, it's going to be rough because Lopetegui is on the chopping block. So you have to figure out which players want to fight for Julian Lopetegui if you want to go down that road. Ryan, the other thing that you said, I'm really into Bournemouth. My projections are really into Bournemouth in this spot. It's just a team that's been really good on offense. Like, it's not even disrespectful to Brentford. I know that they're on the road, and I know that Brentford's not very good, but I think Bournemouth are just like intrinsically a good team. They get a lot of set pieces. They shoot a lot. I think Bournemouth is 4th in the Premier League in total shots, crosses, and chances created. All 3 of those are correlated stats, but that tells you that this is a friendly team to attack overall. So I think that's going to be a theme in my takes throughout the show. I don't want to give away too much on Bournemouth, though. You should fade them. They stink. They're on the road. Let's dig into the forward position, Ryan. I uploaded my projections. I had time. Ryan, I am a little uncomfortable with how big a projection I personally have on Matthias Cunha, but I think if you just look at game logs and stuff, the 3 best forward plays, and there's going to be money to pay up, are going to be Cunha, Bowen, and Antoine Semenyo. No set pieces, but you can save about $2,000, which might help with some flexibility down ballot in your lineup. I just don't think that you have to go anywhere else. There's interesting cheap options for tournaments, but from an optimal point of view, I mean, just click Cunha and then one of Bowen and Semenyo and then move on with your life. I think that's going to be what the field generally does. But Ryan, do you see any alternatives here? I mean, what's your opinion on the state of the forward position?
I see one alternative. 5,000 for Ismail Assar is perfectly fine. With the, they don't have a bench. So 90 minutes for 5K, that's a good floor there for Sar. Up top though, you can afford both those guys if you want, Cunha and Bowen. I think that'll be a popular strategy. Semenyo projects well. He's been great. Really like Semenyo. I have a tough time seeing people click him over Bowen and Cunha though, even for $2,000 cheaper, just because, people see the expensive guys in home spots, the guy without set pieces in an away spot. So yeah, my guess would be people just play Cunha and Bowen or go down to Sar. I mean, I think Sar's a better play than people realize probably. But the risk there is like Fulham just bossing the game, but 5K is cheap.
I think there's, looking at constructions I'm seeing, just play Sar in your utility spot. Like, it's almost, if you spend for Sar and then you play value midfielders and Tavernier at midfield, you're going to have enough money to pay up for another expensive forward. So I think Sar is definitely in the cash pool, especially if you don't want to, you can compare him to someone like Daichi Kamada, or maybe you're not comfortable with a Jesper Lindstrom as a dog in this spot. I think Yeah, Sarr is definitely on the table. Ryan, just to poke some holes in all of these players, Antoine Semenyo, he's been playing 90 minutes, but he's a no set piece guy. So this is a guy who can just give you 6 points and, too bad. Like that's the range of that type of winger's range of outcomes. Definitely someone I want to hammer in GPPs though. Matias Kudus had an excellent floor, much better than he did last year. If Pablo Sarabia comes off the bench, he's not going to be taking all of the corner kicks anymore. So, you run some risk of him bleeding some set pieces, but I think he has a better floor than Jared Bowen. I think Kuna does take penalties as long as Sarabia is not on the pitch. And I think Kuna's just straight up a better version of Bowen. It's a slightly better matchup. Bowen has been bleeding set pieces. So if you look at the free kick tracker on the RotoWire cheat sheet, you'll see that, you got Emerson taking some free kicks. Carlos Soler is coming off the bench and taking some corners. We had Somerville take a corner. Like, Bowen's is a slightly worse play if he's not guaranteed to be taking, 3 or 4 corners every single match. And I think that has to make me prefer Kuna overall. And when you're looking at spending 10K on Bowen, given how West Ham have been playing, I just don't think he's a lock. Am I going to die on that hill in cash? I'm probably just going to be a coward and follow the field because it's not that bad a construction. And I've lost because of Jared Bowen before, and it feels bad. So I'm not going to call him unplayable, Ryan, but I think there's some holes to be made in a chalky player here.
Oh, man, I forgot about that. I agree with everything you said, though. I would say Cunha is more likely to score than Bowen, like from open play and from the penalty spot. So that's like a pretty good decider. I think Sarabia probably. Sarabia might start, and that would probably take some set pieces away from Cunha, but I just wouldn't worry about it. Like the spot at home to Southampton just sort of pushes it over the top.
I think it would just make Wolves better. This might be like a cope. It's like when you're playing NFL and like a better wide receiver plays, it's like, oh, he's going to distract from the coverage. But having a better attack, like surely having Pablo Sarabia on the field is going to be better than Mario Lemina as an attacking midfielder. So I definitely agree with that.
No, I agree with you.
I think no matter what, even if you play Sarr, you'll have money for an expensive forward utility. So Sarr is a good spend down option. Ryan, in GPPs, some names I'm interested in. We have a cheap Justin Kluivert. If he starts for 4,800, you're going to get about 70 minutes there. Similarly for 5,070 minutes of Evan Nielsen. I think 2 good tournament shouts there. Like I said, I mean, Bournemouth are just a really attacking team for fantasy. So give me all the cheap pieces and exploitable Brentford spot. Ryan, more about this matchup. Like if you watch the Brentford Fulham matchup on Monday, Brentford got to a goal lead and then had 30% possession for the rest of the game on Fulham. Now, Fulham are not that good. It was just a philosophical thing. So, there's paths for Bournemouth to achieve in many ways in this one. And I found it a tough way to write it concisely, but it's easy to talk through. Bournemouth can just crush, and that happens sometimes. But if Brentford score an early goal, Brentford play like a team that's truly, it'll be wheels up for floor and Bournemouth. So I'm really interested in seeing if that game script might come to fruition. It seems like a game where maybe you want to play one Brentford player and then play a couple other, Bournemouth players on the side, or maybe you just don't even play a Brentford player. Maybe Brian Mbeumo, who's really expensive, scores a goal and then he gets 2 floor points again or whatever he did, and he's not even optimal. And then you just play the Bournemouth side. So that has me very interested there. I think I had a couple other forwards I was interested in. I mean, Cameron Archer is so cheap that you can consider him. Ryan, I want to hear your take on Reece Nelson, 6,800. He played 80 minutes on Monday. I didn't really expect that. And he had the absolute nuts script. Like I said, Brentford just completely parked the bus and he was crossing and shooting a ton. It's tough to project a floor in a player who mostly plays in garbage time. But when the script is right, you can see how it goes right for him. So how does Reece Nelson fit into this slate?
Thank you for asking, Jack. I captained Reece Nelson on Monday in the Scorpion kick and took it down. So have some fond memories. And of course, Reece used to play for Arsenal. Liked him there. Yeah, I liked what I saw on Monday. And I think it's a good spot for Fulham. I think all the Fulham players are good GPP plays. Like nobody's going to play him in that price range they're in, really. So yeah, I'm in. What was I going to add? Yeah, I think Kluivert has penalties for Bournemouth as well. So for 4,700, that's pretty good. I agree with everything you said about that Bournemouth Brentford match, probably giving away a little bit too much there. Jack, good spot for Bournemouth. I think they're just a better team.
Yeah, I hate giving away that good of a spot, but I don't know. We'll see if people do it. I don't know, Ryan. Sometimes we give like really sharp takes and then we flip the ownership and we have no idea what the field just did. So maybe not everyone is listening to this program. Maybe some people are just waking up in the morning and seeing where the vibes take them. But you don't have to see where the vibes take you if you're a subscriber. RotoWire.com/soccer trial, 48-hour free trial if you want to try us out for the weekend. It is the best way to support the program overall. And give us a like and comment if you are in the chat right now. All that stuff helps us keep on producing these shows. Ryan, I think I gave away a lot of alpha on the forward position, so I'm just going to hold it there. Is there anything you have to get off your chest for the forwards?
No, not really. I mean, I think we talked about all of them. Leverage play in tournaments would be Strand Larson because he's all the way up to 8,400 now. But he's a Chris Wood type that's going to play 90 minutes. One of these big guys that could score a header or two, or he's better than that too. We've seen him score other types of goals, but yeah, just nobody's going to play him.
Is that true that he'll play 90 minutes? I thought injuries had something to do with that, and we have Hwang Hee-chan back in training. Would that affect Strand Larson's outlook for you at all, or do you just think that they would just sub off Mario Lemina or something?
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. See if Hwang is on the bench, man, I think he's still good for 80 minutes. I mean, really, Strand Larson's direct replacement is Sasa Kaladzic. I mean, I don't they might take him off if they're winning, but I don't think they'd take him off in like a tie game if they're losing.
Fair enough. I mean, plus it's not like Hee-chan is completely fit anyway, so. And he's in good form, so might as well just keep your goal scorer. Ryan, I try to fade the statue goal scorer, but these Strand.
I mean, everybody does, right? That's. I'm going to try to fade him too. I know, me too. I have to mention them.
Yeah, especially when it's the quote unquote best spots. 50% overall.
Ryan,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Mikel Antonio's 5,400. If it's a quote unquote smash spot for West Ham, Antonio might not, probably, he won't even be that popular. Folkrug out. You could do worse.
Yeah, I think I'm going to be downloading some CSVs and looking for Ozzy in these contests, making sure that he's getting, his 3-man West Ham stacks in there. Maybe. I mean, you could easily build a team like Paqueta, Bowen, and Antonio, and then Everton just capitulate. I don't think that happens, but I don't know.
I mean, yeah, you can play one-offs as well. You can play Antonio as leverage off of Bowen. Save a bunch of money. He scores the goal, and Bowen's not going to pay off a 10K floor.
Yeah. I mean, there's just so many mid-range options. Antonio is not going to get high ownership, so it's an interesting play overall. Ozzy, same Paqueta lock. He's just trolling.
Love that.
At this fight. Love it.
Love that.
Ryan, let's get into the midfield position. I've sorted by what I think are the best values at the position. I mean, you can, of course, disagree. Some interesting names overall, though. Daichi Kamada comes up. He's a player who we expect to take at least half the set pieces. Ryan, that's how I'm treating him. And then I gave unallocated for the rest of the set piece on this team because I have no idea what's going to happen. I think that's a fair assumption, but I also think that Kamada with a full array of set pieces and having to play 90 minutes because everyone's hurt, I don't think many people want to pass that type of roll up, especially in cash games. And Jesper Lindstrom has looked really good in limited action, Ryan. He played 88 minutes over the weekend. He took half of the corners, and he was the one on direct free kicks. Now, whether that was because Dwight McNeil, had a slow day because he was coming back from injury, I don't know. But Lindstrom is a good floor player overall. And with set pieces and 70 minutes, I think he can easily pay this 5,300 tag. Ryan, I just think that if you told me Lindstrom was going to play 80 minutes one more time, and Everton haven't been using that many subs, so it seems likely, I really want to play him because he can make you suffer with floor points. But it's not like we're without options. Like I said, we have Kamada, Matias Fernandez, more of a tournament name for Southampton, maybe a couple set pieces, talented youngster there. And then I didn't get to the more expensive option, but I think Marcus Tavernier is one of the best plays of the slate. Half of set pieces, really good floor and a decent matchup. It's easy to afford him as well, Ryan. That's my take on the midfield position. What are you thinking?
I mean, I don't really have anything else to add. It's pretty straightforward. I don't see why you wouldn't just play Lindstrom and Kamada. Kamada just too cheap, but yeah, he's good chance he has a monopoly, Jack. I don't know who else would take sets. You know, they split with a left-footed player traditionally, either Will Hughes or Wharton. The only left-footed player on the pitch will be Tyrick Mitchell. I do see in 2001 he took 4 corners. So, you know, stranger things have happened. Don't be surprised if he takes, you know, one of those free kicks from the wing where it doesn't make sense for a right footer to take it. Maybe that's why DraftKings priced him up, because, you know, they know. But yeah, like as far as cash games, Kamada and Lindstrom seem like no-brainers.
Yeah, it's like in the worst case scenario for them, they get subbed off at 65 minutes, but like they're priced for that.
Right.
So I don't like when you're fading, you're like, oh, the roll's a little fragile. But when you can tolerate the bad part of the roll at their price, I don't really see the case for fading.
Yeah, I would say Lindstrom. Yeah, it's that simple. I would say Lindstrom is more of a sub risk, but you're still not going to fade in cash games because, like you said, I mean, he went 88 last game, and if he gets to 75 here is even fine at that price most times.
Yeah, I mean, maybe there's a case, Ryan, to be made for 90 minutes of Lewis Cook and splitting corners. You know, I've sung the praises of Bournemouth here, but he just doesn't have open play floor. And Jesper Lindstrom also has a split of set pieces. So you're going to argue about, 25 minutes extra there. I don't think that's the move. I don't like playing that way. You know, it's happened to me where I've just gotten slaughtered by these set piece guys when corner luck goes their way. And so be it if that happens. That can happen sometimes. And that's why Cook is a decent play. But I just don't think the bailout equity is necessarily there. So
yeah. We'll let Mo play his boy Lewis Cook. I do remember the goal he scored earlier in the season, though. It was a header, and he was in the box. He does make the occasional runs, but into the box. But no, Jack, I agree. I don't really play like that.
Ryan, there's going to be some people who are going to be like, oh, bro, you're not talking about Andreas Pereira. He takes all the corners. He's going to score. He's going to take 8 corners and get 20 crosses. I just don't think I think that's another luck thing with some of these set piece takers. A 7,600 Andreas who's playing 70 minutes per start. I'm just not that interested in this spot when the alternatives are just safer.
Yeah, nope, I totally agree. It's the minutes, really. Because it's a pretty good spot for Fulham. What you'd be hoping for with Andreas is that you randomly get a 90-minute game, but it just that looks less likelier as the weeks go by.
It's just the case where that feels like sometimes set pieces are like a tournament play for like a player like Andreas, where
right? So you're hoping for like a big set game, or maybe he randomly goes 90. Because if you think about it, if he was always going 90 minutes, then for 7,800 he'd be like almost a lock. But because the minutes are at like 60 or 65, you like can't even consider him. So yeah, it's a tournament gamble.
Yeah, and a good one because people are going to be fed up with it, but not
Right.
something to put a huge amount in. I would not take a big position on Andreas Pereira here. Ozzy mentioned Yohan Wissa being midfield only. Certainly like a pay up to be contrarian spot there. I don't think many people are going to get to Wissa. I was reading a newsletter, Tad Knuston's newsletter. We don't get a sponsorship from them, but it's the transfer flow. And apparently no one runs better than Yohan Wissa. I think 13 shots and 4 goals, and he's outperforming his expected goals by 3.5. So I don't want to pay up for a player who's just simply running hot because you never know when that heater ends, Ryan.
Wow, Jack with the numbers. I like that. Yeah, it makes sense.
I told you backstage I was on it today. Sometimes I don't have it. Sometimes I have it, and this is one of those days. Scrolling down, Ryan, a couple tournament names worth pointing out. I think Matias Fernandez is a worthy tournament shout at 4,200 just because you might get some set pieces. I think he'll split sides on corners with Ryan Manning. Ryan Christie is really cheap, but you're talking about 65 minutes. That's, one of your $5 king of the pitch plays maybe that you want to dabble in. Ryan, I can't do it with Lucas Paqueta. What's the case behind Lucas Paqueta in this matchup? Is it just penalties? Is it just maybe he starts randomly attacking and stops getting yellow cards? I feel like you're just saying he's so talented, but is the role there in this West Ham team is my question.
Yeah, the case is just that he's so good. I mean, this is a guy that starts for Brazil. And we were playing him last season for a much higher price tag. There is that possibility of penalties. It's a plus matchup for West Ham. So yeah, I wouldn't rely on the floor at all. We've seen him get subbed. We've seen the yellow cards, but you're just hoping for goal involvement. And there's a good chance that he could play a bit farther forward at times with no Fulkrug and if when they use a lineup that doesn't have a center forward like Somerville and Bowen in there, I don't know. There's a case. The case is that he's 4,700 and he'd be direct leverage off of like Lindstrom and Kamada and Sarr.
Yeah, I don't even think Sarr is going to be that popular, so I'd almost rather play him. But, a couple of Paqueta shares, definitely not bad. Ryan, one final name, and I'm sorry to mention this, but he's a guy who popped up last year a couple times too, Mario Lemina. We have him projected in a more attacking role. I think he's actually like a pretty good player, and if you look at his game logs, he's got a few multi-shot games, one game with 2 shots assisted. GPP play, but just if you want to mix it up a little bit, maybe stack some Wolves and hope that Lindstrom gets subbed off. I don't hate it for those top-heavy type of formats.
No, me either. Also, Damsgaard could be a GPP play for 6,300. Been chalk in recent weeks. Probably going to split sets if Noah Jensen and, with the goal involvement, would pay off that price tag.
Yeah, he'll be pretty low owns, but what can I say? I'm a Damsgaard hater, so I'll pass on that. But a lot of people will, which makes him more interesting. Diego is in the chat. Lopetegui is just destroying West Ham players' DFS value. It's just funny how West Ham had a manager change and nothing changed about them last year. They're still the team that concedes the most fantasy points this season. They're fun to target, so maybe we should be targeting some Everton players and GPPs, Ryan. Let's get into the defender position. Ryan, I pulled up my projections. I don't have a single player projecting for more than 10 points at the defender position. And some of the more interesting tournament ones are expensive, like Ryan Knight-Norrie. Oh, that's kind of interesting. 6,800. That's 1,300 more than Pedro Porro last weekend. So, I don't see myself getting up there in cash games. Wan-Bissaka is expensive now. Tyrick Mitchell is expensive. I can just read off the names in order there. Anthony Robinson, 5,800. Munoz, 5,600. Maybe Munoz takes a set piece. I don't know. I don't think that will happen. It seems like people are going to pay down at the defender position. The first name that I want to play might be Ryan Manning, who should take some set pieces. But Ryan, he's been subbed off early in 4 straight matches, including a 59th minute sub in a match where Southampton kept a clean sheet and I lost the scissor kick by 5 points. So, that's curious.
Brutal beat.
That's curious.
That's very curious. 59th. Oh man, that's brutal.
It's okay. I'm not mad about it. And other interesting options. Manning is still a good play. Walker Peters will go 90, and I think he got an assist in the last game. And in a back 3, I think he has a decent floor. People will keep on playing Emerson because he, quote unquote, takes set pieces, but he also, quote unquote, gets subbed early. So I'm not that interested in Emerson in this spot, but he's fine. I don't hate it. And then one other name stuck out to me. Oh, your boy Milos Kerkez, only 4,000. Not the greatest floor and a couple early subs, but I'll be playing him in some GPPs. What do you think about defender, Ryan?
Always love me some Kirkes. Had a little bit of a rough patch, but he's starting to pick it up. Looks like a pretty good player. And yeah, just the defender position is weak. I can see people going to Emerson in cash games. That seems fine. Could see him being the most popular in cash. Would be my guess. But yeah, it's a weak slate for defender. I like Semedo in tournaments just because he's right in that range where,
of course you do,
people are going to play Emerson and Manning, right? So, I'll take Semedo. Can score. Semedo has more goal and assist upside than those guys. Maybe not more assist upside than Manning taking sets. I shouldn't say that. That's not true. But yeah, it's just a weak slate for defender, Jack. I like Kirkes, and I seen it's possible that like a Sugawara starts. He came on and had an assist, looked pretty good again. You don't really know what's up with him. Sometimes he takes some sets, but it would be maybe like a tournament gamble. Ryan Aitnery, Adam told us he likes Aitnery this week. Could be a good tournament play because nobody's really going to pay $6,800 for him. I think Mitchell would be a pretty good tournament play, actually. Just, if you're looking for the one defender who can put up double digits, and you got to factor in the 1% chance that Mitchell takes a couple dead balls. Yeah, weird defender slate, weak defender slate. I think the Fulham guys are okay for tournaments. Probably won't get any ownership. Yeah, I don't know, Jack.
I think I'm just going to say I agree. I'd like to play both Southampton fullbacks because I think they're pretty good, but that means I have to play Semenyo. So I think 2v2s in cash games is going to be like whoever you play at goalkeeper. And goalkeeper, literally everyone is the same on this slate. So good luck there. So that's already going to be a huge thing. Who you pick at second defender is going to be a little bit tricky. I'm assuming that people are just going to take Manning set pieces and deal with 65, 70 minutes there. At least it's a decent matchup. It's not like Wolves are this elite team. So I feel meh about it, but that seems fine. Lost my train of thought. Oh, I was going to say, I think Marcus Tavernier is going to be a very popular midfield option because he's 7,300 and a set piece role. One of those players who stands a little bit above the rest of the cheaper midfield options. He's actually worth his price tag. So I'm wondering if the move is, you're comparing Ryan Aitnouri to someone like Marcus Tavernier. And we've seen how Tavernier fails, maybe a 70-minute sub appearance here or there. So I think I'll make a rule when I build my lineups that I'll boost Ryan Aitnouri if I don't play Marcus Tavernier. Because if Tavernier fails, then there's room for an expensive defender to eat on this slate, I think. So that's the way I'm approaching the situation, but not taking a heavy position because I think I'll be heavier on Tavernier. Yeah,
that makes sense. The only thing I'll add is, you can play center backs on this slate if you want to. It's just the defenders aren't as great. So you're not really losing as much. Maybe you get a goal.
Plenty of cheap center backs to look at. Craig Dawson is only 2,900 and he has better than usual goal odds for center back. I know he's a bit of a bit on this show, but I think it's actually true. Like he's a target man on these set pieces. So if you want to hunt a clean sheet there, cheap Bournemouth set pieces, Zabarni, although he never really does anything, to be completely honest. Joachim Anderson, Adams Boy is really cheap. You can play Everton center backs if you're going to fade West Ham. So it seems fine just to play, James Tarkowski, so you can spend up for in other spots in your lineup. Yeah, I think that all makes sense. And Ryan, honestly, if you're not going to play Bournemouth guys, the Brentford center backs actually kind of have like a little bit better floor than other center backs do. I've noticed this at least, and you'll see that guys like Ethan Pinnock and Nathan Collins are a little bit more likely than other center backs to get a shot. So if you're not as in on this Bournemouth spot as me, it seems like there's plenty of center backs to target.
Oh yeah, I've been touting Nathan Collins for a while now. No, you're right though.
I've fallen into line on Nathan Collins. He's a showdown hero. He's that punt that you need to jam Brian and Buemo captain so he can score 0.3 points and not do anything.
He is. I mean, he's good, and he gets stats. I mean, he used to play for Liverpool, right? There was no way he was going to get into that team.
Yeah. I mean, some center backs are just busier than others. It's how it goes.
Absolutely.
I'm not looking forward to this, Ryan, but let's look at the goalkeeper position. Ryan, every single goalkeeper projects as the same in my model this week. Because there's no difference in win odds.
Right?
Yeah, it makes sense. So that tells you how I feel about the position. In the article, I did a random number generator and I chose Mark Travers. So there you go. That's the goalkeeper pick. One thing I'm trying to do is look at who's getting more saves, because maybe that's a team that's more likely to be giving up shots on goal. So you can sort by team conceded. Brentford concede a lot of shots on goal, but I don't want to necessarily pay up for that. Wolves concede a lot of shots on goal. Again, I don't want to pay up for that. Maybe Aaron Ramsdale is the best goalkeeper. They give up a lot of shots on target, and he's the cheapest option. And like I said, all the goalkeepers are the same. So just pay for the cheapest one, pocket the 1,000, and spend it however you want. I mean, is there any different way to look at it, Ryan?
Nope. I will just make sure keeper correlates with the lineups, right? You said something on the Champions League pod about, trying to have your goalie not even involved with any of the rest of your team. Like, not even, you're not playing the keeper from the team you're stacking, which of course is fine. But like in general, yeah, I tend to agree with you. I like when my keeper is just on an island. If it, it's tougher on a 4-game slate, obviously, but sometimes you can have that. The best keeper on the slate is Travers. I agree, but it's goalkeeper, right?
Well, to be clear, you agree with the random number generator.
That's what it was. No, no, it's just like Bournemouth are more likely to win. And he's cheaper than Flecken, so it's it's that easy.
Yeah, one of those price quirks. Right. I do agree. I like to pick a goalkeeper on an island, but I usually like that on bigger slates,
right,
where the defenders are good. And no disrespect to the defenders, there's just not like Pedro Porro, Juan Miranda, or Alex Grimaldo type players on the slate. So I think correlating is better than usual.
Yeah, some clean sheet correlation, right? There's happens relatively often where there's only one clean sheet on this slate. So you'd be good. You do well to hit that.
I think so. And I mean, if the high scorer defender is going to be 11 points, I mean, 3 points is like 25% of that. So the clean sheet is going to mean an awful lot on this slate overall, I think.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Ryan, we're making quick work through this slate. I feel like we're covering every angle, though. So maybe it's just one of these things where Mo is going to complain when he listens to this on 2.5x speed tomorrow morning.
Well, I think this could have been a 15-minute pod, to be honest. We broke it down well. It's actually like from a cash game perspective, we were saying before the podcast, it's very straightforward construction. We talked about how easy midfield is with the set piece guys, and even how easy forward is. So it's pretty simple slate from an optimal point of view.
Yeah. Well, it's probably not going to be simple for me.
Great slate for tournaments. Great slate for tournaments.
I keep on the evil side of me really just wants to play Semenyo, but I feel like I'm almost making a point if I do that. And cash games are not the place to make a point. There's the place to just do the right thing. And then, King of the Pitch and stuff, I'll play plenty of Semenyo.
That's a very good point, Jack. I have tried to make a point in cash games many times. like what you're like in I've done it in the NFL in the past, and it's usually a losing strategy. And you can take your takes like Semenyo or whoever it is, and you're still getting a lot of exposure in tournaments, right? And he's going to be low owned. Sometimes you can do that in cash if the guy's going to be kind of high owned in tournaments too. Oh, well, just give me all the exposure then. I'll play him everywhere. But I don't think Semenyo is going to catch that much ownership in tournaments.
Me neither. I think people will just click Bowen and other expensive options. People will still click Mbuemu. They'll just be it's
Right,
Brian
exactly.
Mbuemu. He scores in the first minute every game.
I mean,
like, are you an idiot?
Pereira and Tavernier too, just under there. And I don't think people are going to play him.
Yeah, but just to go on to that, like cash is not the right place to, make a point and be like, oh, I'm so much smarter than everyone else. I'm playing Semenyo. It's not like Bowen's a bad play. And
Right.
what? I'm going to win the $25 double up. Who cares? You get paid $50 in that point. Like, why don't you play the place where that decision actually has some like actual equity for your lineup? It just makes it even more silly. It feels great to dunk on in cash sometimes, Ryan, but I don't think many people are selling that many head-to-heads that the dunk is even like worth chasing in this one. So,
Right. Nope, I agree.
I'm going to be a nit. How sad. And Ryan, tournament strategy, I'm playing Bournemouth. Tail me if you want. I hope you don't. You can be like Ozzy and play West Ham. There's a few players to attack in other spots that I think you highlighted, Ryan, but I'm just going to be playing I want every combination of Bournemouth. That's going to be my priority. And I'll see you in Discord. Tilt or no tilt.
Yeah, no, we're in agreement on pretty much everything about this slate.
Brilliant. That was a tight 40, Ryan. I'm proud of us. Proud of rotowire.com/soccer trial. 48-hour free trial. One more time to pump it in. Thank you to everyone for joining us. Bear, Ozzy, Diego. Join us in Discord. You can see Bear complain that we disrespected Crystal Palace too much, even though we touted Sarr and Kamada. Even though we touted Tyrick Mitchell as a sneaky play as well. A lot of fun to be had there. And isn't it international break, Ryan?
Might be.
So am I going to be playing these? Oh God, I might play some of these UEFA Nations League slates. Those are
or you
dark.
can get back in the NFL streets.
Or I could get back in the NFL streets. NFL is it's too tilting, Ryan. I can't take it anymore. I just can't. Guy plays contrarian in NFL, loses 3 times, claims it's rigged. That's basically me in NFL. So
and you're the opposite in soccer. You're like a true GPP bro in soccer.
Yeah. I really like max entering in soccer, Ryan. I think it's fun that they have this $8 GPP. You can build 10 teams and it's $80. And for a lot of people, I think that's a reasonable amount of money to gamble on a given weekend. And, when you can build more lineups, you feel like you can tinker with more ideas. So I feel like it's more fun, but the contest keeps shrinking. So I must just be in a minority.
No. You're absolutely right. Like it's more fun for everybody, but the people like me, right, who want a little higher buy-in and a chance to win like 10K or 5K. But this is like more like it was when I started out playing. Like, the contests were bigger, but the entry fees were like $5 or $8. And, you need to be able to throw multiple lineups into these things if you're going to win them. I mean, I couldn't agree more. If I was like just started out or, didn't have as big a bankroll, like what a great tournament to play. Because you can still there's a bunch of tournaments where you can win 1,000, 2,000. You don't have to just play one lineup. Yeah, I mean how much longer are we going to have this soccer DFS? It's been going down considerably since the stuff with since the UK left. But it's a little bit softer because of that too. So, now's the chance to gamble a little bit more.
I think so. Actually, I have a couple of things I want to say about that. Anytime there's like 3,000 to first place, even in like kind of weird contests, Ryan, that stuff's filling. So that's the first thing I observe. So I think we're looking at 5K price, 5K to first. That's probably the floor for the near future. I'm knocking on wood. I mean, I've been a pretty big pessimist, but I think there's enough enthusiasm among the core players that'll happen. And maybe some people will walk in because I do think the contests are softer. Ryan, a lot of our views have gone down on YouTube with, but not proportional to the size of the lobby. And that makes me think that a lot of our friends in England, there weren't casual DraftKings players in England, Ryan. This is what my takeaway was. I think some of these guys were grinders and they knew their stuff.
Yeah,
so
it's too bad. They were putting a lot of money into soccer, really propping it up in the UK.
a lot of liquidity, but sharp at least. So I think it's a good time to step up, I think, overall.
I mean, we're going to ride it till the wheels fall off, right? So,
for sure. And the last thing I'll say is when I started, there was no good way to win $1,000 in soccer. Like it was all like you could win $100 and then you had to pay, $20 to play the GPP or something. Now there's a lot of prize points where you can win $1,000. And for someone like me, that's a very meaningful prize to someone like me who it's more like a side hustle than you, Ryan, who's trying to make a career. So I don't know who we're pitching to. We're talking to people who have listened to us talk 5 minutes, not actually about the slate, but come on and dive in. It's fun.
Right.
All right. Well, on behalf of myself and Ryan, thank you all so much for listening. We're going to enjoy our time off, and we'll see you in a couple of weeks. But yeah, have a good luck, everyone.
Thanks, Jack. Good luck, everybody.